Hey, good morning. How are you? It's currently 26 degrees out back in northern Illinois. Had some thoughts today. I'll tell you a little story. Basically, are you afraid to retire? I've often wondered this with people that I work with, and here's why. Some of these folks have 40 and 50 years, and we're in a situation, as I've explained prior, where we can retire with 30 and out. And yeah, there's some benefits to continue working if you want to keep working. And everybody's choice is their own. Obviously, I'm not trying to pick on anybody. It doesn't really matter to me whether you stay at work or you move on. But I wonder sometimes if they're afraid to retire, and there's a few reasons why people might be afraid to retire. And so I kind of wanted to go through a few of those and just kind of see what you guys think. First of all, I really think a lot of folks have no other life outside of work. And that's, to me, is kind of tragic. I'm not a man of many hobbies, I'll say that. Matter of fact, this has become one of my hobbies. I really kind of enjoy doing this, just off the cuff, expressing myself, just having some creativity going on. And so this has kind of become a new hobby that I'm going to pursue just because I enjoy it. And, as long as I can do it, I probably will. But a lot of people just don't have things to do outside of work, aside from doing things that probably aren't necessarily helpful for them, for their health and etc. But they just don't have hobbies, and they don't have other things that they do. So I think that's one of the reasons that people don't retire when they could. And when I bring these folks up, some of these folks are up in their upper 60s and 70s, so they have been at work. It's not just the 40 or 50 years, but they're into their retirement years, well into their retirement years. And typical retirement doesn't have to be 65, it doesn't really matter. But when you look at that being the typical age, and then people are still at work in their 70s at not just part-time work, but full-time jobs. So that's a lot of time to be spending long beyond that. Another thing I think that comes up is that people don't really have a purpose to pursue, and work is their purpose. It gives them something to get up for, something to do every day. And I definitely understand that. I'm not a guy that likes to sit around too much. And that's what's the downside of northern Illinois, is that when the weather's crappy, there's not a lot to do outside of the home. And so, especially on this time now that my wife and I are living in separate states, I definitely would prefer just to go into work because it helps me get my day started and gives me something to do. And it's nice to stay in that regular habit of activity, and helps break up the boredom. But bringing up boredom, I think, is the next thing, is that people will get bored. If they don't have something to do and don't have a purpose and don't have a plan of how they're going to stay active and how they're going to eat their time up, I think they're going to get bored. I know I would. That's why one of the reasons that one of the reasons I'm going to retire someplace where the climate's nice every day. When you can go outside every day and enjoy the weather, even if you don't want to be outside necessarily doing activities, but just to be able to leave the house and go do something else, is a lot nicer when you don't have to warm up the car. It's a lot nicer when you don't have to clean off the snow, and those kinds of things. So I think that definitely plays a part in it. But boredom, there's only so much TV that you're going to watch, right? I always joke with my friends that I'm going to go home and watch Matlock and Murder, She Wrote with my mom, who's 80, and she does like those shows. But there's only so many of them that you can watch. I mean, most of those, obviously those episodes are very old, so there's a lot of it's just reruns and reruns and reruns. There's nothing new being made on those fronts. But we also watch a lot of Law and Order because we both kind of enjoy it. And it's funny because we'll sit and say, hey, I don't remember this one. Do you remember this one? And I'll be like, yeah, and then we watch the episode and go, oh, yeah, now I remember. So anyway, I think boredom definitely plays a part of it. And that goes kind of back to not having any hobbies, not having a real purpose. and different ways and different things you can do to try to stay busy. I also think that people are worried and concerned about being lonely. It turns out that most of our friends and associates that we have obviously come from or started at work. Most folks don't hang out a lot with people from work outside of work. There's some do. I mean, I've played golf and done lots of activities with other guys at work, but it's not like we get our families together type of thing. It's more of a just, hey, you and I know each other. We both like golf. Let's go play golf. But a lot of them, some of obviously people have friends from different relationships, whether it's work or church or wherever. But many of them, the only people they have to talk to or associate with are people from work and at work. So, going in every day and getting to catch up with your friends and getting to hang out and talk and whatever, definitely can break up the loneliness vibes that a lot of people may run into. I definitely, on my perspective, being up here without my wife, have those days where I feel very lonely and wish that she was here and wish that we could do some things together. But again, that's choices that we've made, and I've said before, it's not for everybody what we've done, that's for sure. You have to have a strong relationship and a mutual agreement and desire that this is what we want to do and that the payoff is there. So that's definitely one of the things that plays a part of it is loneliness, though. And finally, I think people really the way to wrap this up and the way to stay ahead of it is that you need to have a plan in place to find things to do to stay active. And if you stay active, you'll run into people and make relationships and friendships possibly in the activities you choose to do. If you enjoy pickleball and can play pickleball indoors or outdoors, I know we have some locations that you can play indoors up here in Northern Illinois. If you're into pickleball, that's a very active sport to be involved in. There's a lot of folks involved in it, and you're going to run into people and meet people there. And yes, you can do it in your older age. That's kind of the whole thing, is that it's spit out because it's smaller than tennis but bigger than ping pong, and so it gives you some activity without having to run a full court. And I think that's the attraction to it, obviously. And anybody there therefore can play it, because it's you don't have to be a top-notch athlete to have fun and be competitive in pickleball. But if you have plans to stay active, you're going to find people in that same tribe when you go to do those activities. Right now, today, I'm prepping when I'm done with shooting this content. I'm going to go into the mall and go for a walk because it's 26 degrees. It's too crappy and gray and gloomy to be outside walking around. It's not going to be fun. So I'd rather at least go to the mall, and I'm not going to run into people I know per se, but at least I'm going to walk around and I'm going to get some activity. I'm going to be out of the house. I can get some fresh sights and sounds and thoughts in my head. That's one of the reasons I like and enjoy walking. It gives me ideas for this hobby that I'm getting into, and it gives me time to just think about other things and make plans in my head that eventually I'll turn into either content or things that I'll write down, journaling, whatever. So anyway, just to come back around to it, don't be afraid to retire. I think the big thing is you need to make plans. You need to have some activity in your life, and find some people that you share common interests with. My mom, one of the things she loves to do is to quilt. Quilting's a very niche type of activity, but she has half dozen friends that do it. They do retreats once or twice a year sometimes. They go to a place and just spend the weekend or a couple days quilting and talking and etc. So even in that case, she has some people that she's familiar with and that she's friends with that they could do stuff with. So anyway, that's all I got for today. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.